Hi all, today we will be creating a buttonhole with the Brother LX2375 sewing machine. So let's get started. Some of the things that we need include scrap fabric, a seam ripper, a sample button, our tailor's chalk, the seam gauge, as well as scissors. First thing I'm going to do is measure out my button. Now, this button here is 5/8 of an inch. And what I will do is take my seam gauge here. I want to measure out and put the little lever on the 5/8 mark, which is here. And I'm going to mark the top and the bottom of where I want my button to be. Okay, so now I have my lines and I'm ready to get started. Some things that you need to know is one, we will be changing some of the presets of the sewing machine. So the first thing you're going to do is move your needle position from the middle to the right. So I'm going to push it down. We're going to use the widest width, which is the 5 of the stitch width, and then we'll use about half between 0 and 1, so about half of the stitch length. Let me cut my machine on. So here we go. We're gonna start here. So I'm gonna put my fabric right at the start of my marking. And the first stitch will be a long stitch. Now we're gonna start on the left and end on the right. Okay, so I'm gonna take my hand wheel and turn it towards me. And I'm going to do about 4 stitches. So I'm gonna do 4 slow stitches and I'm gonna end on the right. So I start on the left, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so I end on the right. I keep my needle in the fabric and I'm going to turn my stitch width to 2. So let's turn it to 2. I'm going to stitch all the way down to the bottom of my line. I start on the right and I'm going to end on the right. Okay, so I'm right at my line. The next thing I'm going to do is turn my stitch width back to 5. And I'm going to do about 4 stitches. I'm going to start on the right and end on the left. So let's do it slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I end on the left. Okay, so this part becomes the tricky part. What you're going to do is lift up your presser foot. You're going to turn your fabric 180 degrees. And then you're going to turn your stitch width to 0. And you saw how the fabric moved when I did that. You're going to put your presser foot down. And you're going to take your hand wheel and just do one slight stitch or something. It kind of resets the needle. Then you will take your stitch width and turn it to 2 and go all the way to the very bottom of the fabric. Make sure you end on the right. Okay, once you get to the very bottom, you will lift your presser foot up, turn the fabric 90 degrees. You can put your presser foot back down This is optional. Sometimes I do this though. I think you should. You're going to move your stitch width to 0. And you're going to do about maybe 4 stitches just to lock in the stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's about 4. And then you just lift up your presser foot. Pull your fabric out. Looks like my thread kind of did something weird, but I don't think it messed up what I was doing. So that's always good. And so here's my buttonhole. So buttonhole here. It's not the best looking one, but for this tutorial it'll work. I'm gonna take my all fancy seam ripper here, okay, and then I'm going to cut it. I'm a lefty, so everything for me is kind of backwards, but I'm gonna do it the way you should do it. And then you just cut it open. Make sure that you can put your button through it. Voila. And then I will take the scissors and cut off my excess thread on the front and the back. And bam, there you go. Buttonholes. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Subscribe to our page and have a great day.